I like what he said about increasing scientific literacy. It's a little backwards from what I personally think is necessary. Because for him, he's starting with a set of scientific, well, like a collection of scientific facts, basically. And his goal is to find ways to insert them into people's lives. And so he's asking people, what's important to you? All right, here's some science that's relevant to that. I guess it's not backwards. I mean, it sort of is. I'm sort of on the side of the regular person. I don't really care to learn anything until it becomes relevant. I'm interested in cool things, but I really want to spend time learning things that will help me accomplish my goals. So, sort of like when I'm learning it, the science becomes relevant on its own as I'm trying to accomplish the things that are important in my life. So, I don't know the difference. So, if, like, I wouldn't just have a goal to make people more scientifically literate. My goal would be, let's figure out a way to not botch our response to COVID-19. That is a good goal that I have. And I'm terrible at helping people figure things out, but um, I really don't know. Um, but I like what he said about adding layer upon layer because I forget often, like very frequently, I forget that people are missing a lot of background knowledge. And you have to understand why they're missing it as well. They just didn't care. They never remembered it. Maybe they were taught it at some point, or maybe they actually weren't even taught it. But the point is, if you are going to, you know something about COVID-19, and you need to be able to communicate it, you have to teach them the prerequisites, each layer, better than they were taught when they were young. And maybe there's more inherent motivation because innate motivation um, because now COVID-19 is relevant. But I mean, if you look at their life, like really what most of them do is they calculate, okay, pretty low risk. All right, well, but so the most meaningful aspect of the thing to them is the government regulation. And so that's the most meaningful part. So they'll learn about COVID from the aspect of how do I get this government regulation off my back. And an honest person will, of course, come to the truth, no matter what direction they take, like what direction they come from. But um, I think I think you have to. Here's a good example: antibody studies. So uh, almost nobody on either liberal or conservative sides knows what the antibody studies are. Like they don't even know about them. I feel like most. Um, on the liberal side, they don't realize that antibody studies show that the virus is so, like it is not nearly as lethal. Like there were polls taken how harmful people think the virus is, and they responded that they thought it was like you had like a 20% chance of dying or some ridiculously high number because of all the negativity about it or whatever. So they're really not paying attention to what is going on, like the research that's coming out. But back in April, there were a bunch of antibody studies that started coming out that suggested that the number of people who actually have had COVID is like 20 to 50 times larger than the reported cases, which means it is 20 to 50 times less lethal, which put the number around 0.2%. People had issues with the Stanford study, but there were similar studies. And also Iceland, they did random sampling. Random sampling is a thing that should have been done in March in like many countries. Testing was scarce, but it's still so important to understand the scale of what you're dealing with. So that should have been done in March. Whatever the cost was, it wasn't going to be all testing. So just some testing, do randomized testing like Iceland did. They found that 1% of the population was testing positive, which was an early sign that it's not as lethal as people thought it could be. People are thinking like 6%, 8% up until then. So it's not. Yeah, anyway. But the thing is, conservatives, even though it makes the point that it's less lethal than people thought, and that therefore you can use that knowledge against the government regulations, they still don't know about it. And so you can use that bit of science as a wedge. Here's something that will help you with what you see in front of you, and use that to educate. And the thing is, in order to accept that layer, you kind of have to accept some layers underneath. And so, yeah, anyway, there are ways to expand from it and get people to be a lot more rational about it, but it's an uphill battle. And the point is, like, it goes a long way to teach basic principles very thoroughly, very clearly. So many basic concepts. Like, if you're missing a concept, what someone is describing to you will look bizarre. Like, let's say you're missing the concept of orbital mechanics or gravitational pull, or how the solar system, how things orbit. And now they're talking to you about angular momentum, going across the sky with the moon and the tides, like if someone is describing any of this, they may look at you like, why aren't you understanding this? This is so simple. But you're trying to figure out how, if the earth is flat and it's spinning, or the sun is turning around, going in a circle, like, you see orbital or angular momentum, but it's in a different direction, has a different axis. And so, anyway, so I tend to underestimate how much people are missing in the basic concepts. That's a big problem I have. But the worst thing you could absolutely do is shut down discussion. I hate the tech platforms that are trying to delete things that are just other people's opinions. How is it harmful to express an opinion? People who think it's harmful to express a genuine opinion, not an opinion like a call to action, not a normative opinion like we should do this should do, but a statement about how they see the world. And people who think that is harmful are anti-human, and they are not helping the problem. And there will be violence if people are not allowed to say what their genuine thoughts are in the world. It aggravates people like nothing else. So it's so foolish. It's not just wrong, it's foolish. YouTube, they've gone so far that they put Rationality Rules. He's an outspoken atheist on YouTube, always criticizing Jordan Peterson, and sort of becoming softer on him. But he posted a video debunking a conspiracy theory about COVID-19, and YouTube deleted it because he expressed the theory in it. And this feels like the USSR. How can people be so stupid? And it could have been some kind of algorithm that did it. That's a lot of power to give to an algorithm, in my opinion. It's overconfidence at best. So I hate how tech companies are going. I think they are absolutely stupid, and I can't stand the people who are pushing them to do more. I can't stand it. Um, Scientific literacy will not be achieved by force. That is so stupid. So stupid. Okay. It's an important topic. And no matter how frustrated I get at people for not even, I don't get frustrated at people for being slow. I worked at a math lab. I love helping people understand no matter how slow they are. But when there's an attitude problem, that is what drives me nuts. And there are attitude problems among libertarians and conservatives about COVID-19 and many things. They are showing not just a lack of background knowledge and scientific literacy, but character flaws. Bias, they're letting bias run everything. But the main difference between the masses of conservatives and liberals is COVID-19 is appealing psychologically to the liberals who don't have the intellectual discipline to actually understand what's going on, whereas it's the opposite for conservatives. That's the main difference. So it's not like liberals are really better, but the conservatives, like, I have had such an annoying time with them. Because they're all around me, you know. I live around them. They're all my Facebook friends. They're everywhere. So I have to, and I'm mostly conservative, but I have to figure this out. This is so important for me to figure out it. Like, I have a lot of goals in the future, like big goals, and in my opinion, one of the main things holding back our progress as a humanity is lack of scientific literacy. That I would say that's the primary thing. People are way too confident in their own interpretation of things. Like, it's just the general humility, like Elon Musk's thing he always repeats. The essential attitude is that you're wrong and the goal is to be less wrong. And people cannot be humble because they're so defensive all the time. They're so insecure and so aggressive. So the solution is going to be complex. The way I've been doing it will not work. I have to get better at it. The way that the tech companies and leftists are doing it is insane and stupid. And gosh, I feel an urgency to help figure this out before things get horrible. But I have to consider what I'm doing very carefully. Currently, the current formula I'm testing out is I have some goals. And in order to get people on board with the goals, I have to teach some things. So here's how I teach them. First, I do something that sets me up as like an authority of some kind. Like, I've done a lot of studying on this, or I got a degree in physics, or something that a random person will be like, okay, sounds like he's talking from a position of authority. Okay, he knows what he's talking about. And then the next thing I do is I flatter them. So usually it's a group. So I think that the Mormons got this so right. And so first I say, I've studied this a lot. There's a post I did recently that follows this template pretty much exactly. Basically, I've read a lot of books about this, and I found that Mormons are doing the best at this, and then I say something that Mormons believe. so I set myself as authority. I flatter them, make them want to be part of the group, and then, like, man, it disgusts me doing this, but And then I claim that Mormons all believe something. The group all believes something. And I know that they've been taught this, but they don't really believe it because they're not acting like they believe it. But I will remind them of the teaching of the group, the belief, and then, like, I will then extend it to the new thing, apply it to a new scenario, and then have like some kind of call to action or talk about some plan that I have. And so an example maybe with global warming, one could be, okay, so the first step is authority or rapport or whatever. I was really skeptical. Skeptical. I've been very skeptical. Jeez, I can't say that word. I've been very skeptical of climate change. I hate when people use it to talk about how horrible humans are. I like humans. I want humans to succeed. And so I really wanted to know for myself what the science was saying. And I read all these books about it. I looked at all these research. I talked to experts. I questioned them. And, so how do I get the next step from that? Basically, the idea is to, I've talked about this example before, but idea is that they're actually happy with Utah or innovate, like something about the way that our in-group is doing it, like handling it, turns out to be very good, and that we actually focus on cleanliness of the environment, and that is actually very effective, and we actually believe that in being stewards, that's probably a better one. We believe in being stewards by showing gratitude for what we have, which is the environment, and so we take care of these things, and so in order to take care of them better, I believe that each of us has a responsibility as soon as we are financially able to buy solar panels and to transition to greener energy sooner. And that is something that is persuasive, I think. But I can always, in that process, when people are feeling good and like they're not going to be defeated or hurt by what you're saying, when they're feeling good, like you're on their team, that is when you have to lay down the scientific concept that they're missing. So, yeah, scientific literacy is very important to me, but that's the formula I'm trying out right now. It's pretty specific, and the part I hate the most is like the whole in-group thing, but at the same time, people need to feel like you're on their side. If they don't feel like you're one of them, they're going to be waiting to see in what way you're going to take advantage of them or hurt them or something. But if you're just, if you're just talking about how great the group is, it'll lower their defenses a little bit. But I don't know. It's so hard to do this. But anyway, all right, back to the podcast.